Newton essentially showed that the laws of the heavens were the same as the laws down here on Earth.
But when he tries to work out the details, the complex mathematics eludes him. He will keep his great breakthrough to himself for almost 20 years. Newton soon becomes a professor of mathematics at Cambridge University. With few teaching responsibilities, he works on math and physics around the clock. His colleagues will soon recognize his brilliance, as well as his prickly and strange nature. In 1672, Newton's invention of a new telescope wins him admission to the Royal Society, England's association of greatest scientists. Flattered, Newton allows them to publish a brilliant paper on optics. But when the great physicist, Robert Hooke, erroneously challenges his theory, Newton flies into a rage and threatens to withdraw from the Royal Society.
His reaction to criticism is almost always to carefully explain why what the other person has just said is out and out foolish.
He was an extraordinarily fragile personality. As one of his biographers had said, his motto is rule or sulk, and he spent a lot of time sulking.
Some historians speculate that Newton's vindictiveness, inordinate sensitivity to criticism, and obsessive work reveal symptoms of a mental illness such as manic depression. We will never know. If he does have a mental illness, it does not slow him down. At the age of 42, Newton is asked to solve a problem that is baffling England's greatest physicists. What mathematics describes the orbit of planets around the sun? Seized by inspiration, Newton shuts his door and begins work on his greatest masterpiece. Like Galileo, he is guided by strong intuition. Now, he sets out to crack the complex mathematics of gravity that he began years earlier. For almost 2 years, he communicates with almost no one. His only form of exercise is pacing.
He would sleep very little, that he would work 18, 20 hours a day, that he would skip meals and simply write.
He had the power to sit in his chair undistracted, focusing, obsessed with one problem for years at a time until it finally cracked.
At last, Newton reemerges with a masterpiece that will change the world: the Principia. A ruthless simplifier, Newton strikes at the fundamentals. He uncovers how mass interacts with force, inertia, and acceleration. But his greatest insight is to define gravity. He is the first to call gravity a force acting at a distance. And through breathtaking mathematical breakthroughs, Newton lays out the precise laws that determine the motion of all objects.
Newton's Principia, published in 1687, was a scientific revolution. In it, Newton gave the first precise description of the laws that govern the motion of bodies, from cannonballs to planets.
When you look at the Principia and the number of mathematical problems solved in it, doing that in an 18-month period, This is not a normal human being in any sense of the word.
Newton has completed Galileo's quest to mathematize motion. But over 200 years later, another arrogant rebel will discover that at very high speeds, Newton's laws fail. And the universe is stranger than anyone ever imagined. At the age of 16, Albert Einstein asks a simple question. What would happen if he ran as fast as a wave of light? Would the light wave appear to stand still? When he returns to this image less than 10 years later, he will revolutionize our understanding of space and time.
He loved to imagine worlds that didn't exist. That was his power. The power that he could see things physically in a picture, things that other people couldn't see.
The man who makes these breakthroughs is an absent-minded professor, a twinkle-eyed lover of humanity. But he's also selfish, has 2 failed marriages, and confesses himself an emotional failure. Albert Einstein is born in 1879 in southern Germany to middle-class Jewish parents. As a child, he is quiet and withdrawn.
His parents began to think maybe he was retarded because it took so long before he began to speak. But he was just busy thinking, apparently.
As a young boy, he is fascinated by puzzles and games and shows remarkable perseverance. At age 9, he builds a tower of cards 14 stories high.
By all accounts, Einstein as a child was a nerd. And as a consequence, the other kids would make fun of him. He was apart. He lived in the world of books, the world of ideas.
In 1896, the 17-year-old Einstein wins admission to the ETH, the MIT of Switzerland. Like Galileo, he is witty and sharp, with a sense of humor, and is also a rebel. Einstein has resolved to become a theoretical physicist, but he feels stymied. His physics professor, Herr Weber, has no interest in the latest cutting-edge theories of light and electricity. He passes his exams only by borrowing a friend's class notes and graduates with unexceptional grades. His behavior has not gone unnoticed. All of Einstein's applications for jobs at universities are rejected.
After Einstein graduated from the university, he became a loser in every sense of the word. His professor, Weber, actively disliked the young Einstein. He wrote letters of recommendation, which we now know undermined his chance at any kind of academic appointment. Even before he became a physicist, his life as a physicist was over.
2 years after leaving university, Einstein finally finds a job as a clerk in a Swiss patent office. His work is far removed from theoretical physics, but this seemingly dead-end job will be his salvation. In Bern, the 23-year-old clerk quickly settles into a bourgeois existence. He marries Mileva Merich, a fellow student from the university. Luckily, his job is undemanding enough that he can steal time to grapple with cutting-edge questions in physics, such as the nature of light.
Others in such circumstances would have just thrown in the towel and would have given up on a career in physics. You get the sense that this is someone who just was possessed by an intellectual demon and couldn't do other than what he did.
Now Einstein returns to a simple